What is going on, everybody? This is episode 7 of Let's Be Frank, brought to you by the Old City Sports Network with your host, Frank Mattis. And boy, do we have a lot to get into today. A lot of good and a lot of bad. I will obviously get into the debacle that was the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday as they were absolutely obliterated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will give you a mini preview of the Phillies postseason. Michkov mania is running wild, and I will give some thoughts on the unfortunate passing of Dikembe Mutombo, who passed away at the age of 58. So, let's talk about the Eagles. Boy, that was bad. That was disgraceful yesterday. To say that team was unprepared is the understatement of the century. Offensively, defensively, special teams, all three phases of the game just absolutely just pissed all over themselves and put on a disgraceful performance. And that is on Nick Sirianni. That is on Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio, Michael Clay, the coaching staff, the players, everybody. A disgrace of a performance by the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if it was because of the heat. I don't know if it was because they got shellacked last year in the postseason and they had PTSD. I don't know what that was yesterday, but it was a disgrace. Defense. My God. My God. This is coming from a guy who gave you a standing ovation last week, thinking that there was some glimmer of hope with shutting down, at that point, the best offensive football in the New Orleans Saints. And to see what they put forth yesterday is mind-boggling. I have seen a lot of football in my day. I'm only 31 years old, but I've seen a lot of football. I've been obsessed with football for a long time, and I've watched a lot of football. I've played football. I don't think I've ever seen a worse tackling performance, a worse tackling display than I did yesterday from the Philadelphia Eagles. Guys playing so far off the ball, guys not filling holes, guys not pursuing and getting to where they need to get to. Now, I played high school football. I'm not saying that I was some star. As a matter of fact, I played left guard. But I did play high school football, and I do know what pursuit drills are. See, when I was in high school, my first ever practice, first ever 2-a-day of defensive practice, we ran this pursuit drill. And our D coordinator would get in a stance, and he would hike the ball, and he would have a whistle. And so we would all be in our respective positions. We would jog in place. Our coach would blow the whistle, and then we would do an up down. He would blow the whistle a couple times, and then once he hiked the ball, and we'd have to see and watch the ball as it's hiked. Once the ball was hiked, we would run to our designated cone. And as we're running to our designated cone, we would have a practice squad running back run up the sidelines. And what we would have to do is the cones were on the sidelines as he was running up. And we would all have to get to our cone before the ball carrier got to the cones. And if we didn't get to our respective cone in time and the ball carrier was past us, we would have to run it again. I don't know if the Eagles run that drill, but they should. Because the pursuit of this team, this pursuit of this defense was dreadful yesterday. CJGJ sucks. This guy, besides that 1 4th down stop, has been garbage this year so far. Garbage. And he has the unmitigated gall to run his mouth week in and week out. For what? For what? You get embarrassed every single week. Whether it's tackling, whether it's in coverage, you can't do anything right. And he wants to talk trash? Darius Slay, no play Slay, wants to go on social media and bring up his accolades? Bro, the only reason why you're on this team is because you have a bad contract that we have to eat. You are a disgrace as a captain. That guy should relinquish his captain spot and give it to Devontae Smith or somebody else. You want to go after Philadelphia Eagles fans for calling your ass out because you were god-awful yesterday? And you want to bring up your accolades and bring up the past? You were big play Slay, and now you're no play Slay. You want to talk about zero accountability? That's Darius Slay, no play Slay. But don't bring it up on social media because he'll block you like he blocked me. Because I called him out because he wanted to go on the podcast with Steven Nelson and talk about how it's tough to be in Philadelphia and those guys and those fans, they're too hard on us and it's hard to play here. And then, I tagged Jason Kelsey's retirement speech and talking about what it means to be a Philadelphia Eagle and what it means to play in the city. And I said, take notes, Darius Slay. And I tagged him on Instagram and he blocked me because he's a bitch and he can't take accountability. And he wants to go on social media and talk about how the Eagles, basically implying that the Eagles fans don't know what they're talking about because Darius Slay, has had such an accomplished career. He did have an accomplished career, but now he's washed. And he should not be the captain on this football team. You were garbage yesterday. This guy takes zero accountability for anything. And he's resting on his laurels. Screw him. And take that C off of him and give it to Devontae. Somebody who shows up week in and week out. Somebody who personifies what a Philadelphia Eagle is. That is not what Darius Slay is. Disgraceful. Avonte Maddox, another guy who's washed. And that could be due to the injuries and the wear and tear and the way he's played football despite his frame. It's over for him. He's not the same player. And the rent has come due in regards to injuries. Baker lit us up like a Christmas tree yesterday. What can I say? He found the right matchup every time. You want to put Nakobe Dean on Mike Evans? Fine. You want to put Nolan Smith on Chris Godwin? Go for it. Lit us up like a Christmas tree. Found the right matchup every single time. Linebackers, dreadful. Up and down every week. Up and down, up and down. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Vaughn, Dean, probably the worst Dean performance I've ever seen. You might want to consider promoting Devin White as a starter or Jeremiah Trotter Jr. because Nakobe Dean's too up and down. It's unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. D-line, non-factor. Where's Jordan Davis? Where's Jalen Carter? Jalen Carter is coming off an all-world game against the Saints, and he decides to lay another egg. You're just going to show up once every month? Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Bryce Huff, he had one tackle. Ooh. And that's it. This guy ain't it, bro. This guy ain't it. Credit to BG. The ageless wonder BG. The only one that gives a crap. Josh Sweat had a sack too. Other than that, nothing from our D-line. Nolan Smith, bust. Absolute bust. Just dreadful defensively. Special teams. I don't know what the hell that was. 2 muff punts, running into guys, throwing guys into guys. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Offense. Non-existent. Jalen Hurts. Not good. Not good at all. He's regressing. Now, though he was bad, he sailed too many balls. He missed Barkley on that wide open that wide open play on the sidelines. He overthrew. Pocket awareness was not there. The turnovers still an issue. I think we need to simmer down a little bit with some of the discourse about Jalen Hurts. I'm all for criticizing Jalen Hurts. He deserved to be criticized yesterday. He did not play well. And I don't want to be a Jalen Hurts apologist. But can we like slow down on the he ain't it? And we got to think about trading him and trading all these players to get Cam Ward in the draft next year or Arch Manning in the following draft. Let's slow down a little bit. It's important to contextualize what happened yesterday. They did not run the ball on first down, which put them in a hole. Defense obviously did not show up. So you're forced to essentially play hero ball. And he was without Devontae and AJ. Granted, these are no excuses, but it's important to contextualize the entire story. I think some of the criticism, not all of it, I think a lot of it's warranted. The majority of it's warranted. But this whole thing about he's not a franchise quarterback, slow down a little bit. There are growing concerns. I'm with you. I'm not defending that performance yesterday. That was not good. But to see people throwing out Jalen Hurts standees and just treating him like he's a bust and he's not a franchise quarterback, calm down a little bit. He was bad, but he was not the only one. The offensive line completely deteriorated in the fourth quarter. Fred Johnson just ran out of gas and paid the price for it. And I guess Kellen Moore forgot he had Saquon Barkley because they decided not to run the ball early on. And your defense is struggling. It's hot out. You know that it could be a long game for them, and it was. How do you reward a defense? How do you help your defense? Keeping them off the field. How do you do that? You run the ball. You run the ball on first down, and they did not want to do that yesterday for whatever reason. And then you dug yourself into a grave, and you had to try to get out of it, and that's when problems happen. And like I said, Jalen was not good at all yesterday, but it was not all on him. And I'm not trying to be a Jalen Hurts apologist by any stretch. And he should be criticized for what happened yesterday. And I'm glad he's taking accountability for it. But some of the discourse, I don't even want to listen to the radio. God knows what they're saying. I don't even want to tune in to the national media. I don't want to listen to any of it because from what I've seen on social media, the discourse is it's too much. We got to slow down a little bit with the Jalen Hurts criticism because we're not getting out of that contract anytime soon. So if you're thinking that we're just going to get rid of him, well, I have news for you. That's about $100+ million in dead cap, and he's got a no trade clause. So for better or for worse, we got to deal with Jalen Hurts. But that doesn't mean he has work to do because he does, and he has to get better. These turnovers have to stop. He could have easily had another interception. But you do see glimpses at times. You do see, the touchdown pass to Paris Campbell. He did show great pocket awareness there and did find the open man. Those are things you work on. But you got to help him out by running the football. And you got to help him out by having him run the ball. Just a bad game plan by Kellen Moore. But again, no disputing that was a terrible performance by Jalen Hurts. And he has to get better. But we are 2-2. And this is a crazy season. Nobody expected the Minnesota Vikings to be 4-0. Nobody expected the Cincinnati Bengals to be 1-3. The Commanders look incredible right now. Who knows, with more tape on Jaden Daniels. But so far, he looks like the real deal Holyfield. It's a long season, and we couldn't have asked for a bye week. We couldn't have asked him for a better time for a bye week, excuse me. Get healthy. Still, AJ, Devontae being back in the fold will change things. Lane Johnson obviously would have helped out with the protection yesterday. And this defense, this special teams unit, this offense, it all needs work. And hopefully they can do that because that was a disgrace yesterday. And you got guys on this team that are just terrible vibes. CJ, GJ, and Darius Slay. No play Slay. And I'm calling them out specifically because they talk a lot of trash and they have nothing to show for it. And I am tired of their BS. you are in no position to run your mouth on a weekly basis the way you play yesterday and the way you've played all year long. Just shameful. And this bye week couldn't have come at a better time because this team has a lot of work to do. And that includes Jalen Hurts. But I'm not giving up on Jalen Hurts, and I am not giving in to this garbage discourse that he's not a franchise guy. Could you argue he's not an elite quarterback? Sure. I think that's fair to say. At this point, right now he's playing like an average quarterback who does have a ceiling of being an elite quarterback. That's where he is right now. And the turnovers need to stop. But I do have faith. And I think some of the discourse is overblown, but he's got to get better. This team's got to get better. So that's that. Phillies gear up for the postseason. They play on Saturday, and I have some keys to the postseason for them. To me, I think the bats can't get cold. I think, and I've brought this up plenty of times, Citizens Bank Park is a very intimidating place to play. And when you got Schwarber and you got Turner and you got Harper and you got Bohm and you got Realmuto and Castellanos hitting and doing their thing and putting pressure on opposing pitchers, that's a tough team to beat. And we cannot have what we had the last two games last year in the NLCS against the Diamondbacks. Those things cannot happen. They need to put the pressure on these opposing pitchers and put the pressure on them early, because it is not a pleasant place to be when those guys are hitting, and you want to put these teams away early. Ranger Suarez, I'm concerned. I bring it up, ad nauseum at this point, just not there, and it concerns me going forward. Hopefully he can recapture that mojo that was in the early part of the season, where he was looking like the Cy Young winner early on. He's got to get back to that. Hopefully he can recapture that. If not, we might be in for a bullpen game or two, which is not ideal. So, but Ranger Suarez has given up runs in the past, and he's sort of he has been a bend on break pitcher at times, where he's given up early leads and he settles down and the bats start coming alive. So those things have happened. So, it's possible that he can recapture that. I really hope he does. He's been through the thick and thin with this organization. He became, he was a guy that he didn't really expect much, then became a starter, and then became an all-star. And he's been a great story for us, and I really want to see him recapture that magic. So hopefully he does so, because we need him. We need all four of our guys to, in our rotation, Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez dealing, to take the pressure off of our bullpen. And speaking of our bullpen, I don't know about you guys. I really don't want to see Jose Alvarado on this postseason roster. I've seen enough of him this year. Obviously, you're not going to put Sawan Walker on this roster. That's a given. It's not even up for debate. But I think we need to have that same conversation about Alvarado. I personally don't want to see him on the postseason roster. I would personally rather see Turnbull or Allard or Lazar personally. Ideally, you would want to have six right-handed pitchers, 6 left-handed pitchers. I think teams put too much stock into that. I think you can afford to have an extra right-handed pitcher if needed. I know Alvarado has experience, he's had success, but he has no momentum, and you got to ride with momentum. And Topper's done a good job of feeding the hot hand, so to speak, in terms of pitching, hitting, and he makes adjustments accordingly to that. I personally don't really want to see Jose Alvarado on the roster. He probably will be on the roster, but that's just my opinion. That's sort of my hot take. I know some people will disagree with that, but I don't think Alvarado has the goods this year, and I think Turnbull, Allard, or Lazar would be better options there. So that's sort of my preview on the Phillies. as you guys are aware, the Mets clinched the postseason, and then the Braves have an opportunity to clinch it tomorrow. If they win, they're in, and then the Diamondbacks are out. But if the Mets win, the Diamondbacks are in. If we have to play those two teams, I don't scare them. If I'm the Phillies, given how everything panned out last year, I'd be licking my chops to play the Diamondbacks personally to get revenge on them. And so that's what we're looking at as far as the postseason is concerned. Let's talk about Michkov mania, baby. Michkov mania is running wild. That guy is the real deal. And, on Saturday, he obviously had the game-tying goal and the game winner. And if that's what we're in store for this year, I think we're in for a memorable year. I do like this Flyers team a lot. They overachieved last year. And then when you factor in Coots and TK and Farabee and Tippett and Sanheim, obviously the goaltending situation is not ideal. But, when you factor in those guys, that core nucleus to go along with a force to be reckoned with in Matvei Michkov, I think the Flyers are in for a good season. And I'm really excited to see this guy play because the Flyers really desperately need the saving grace, that saving grace, so to speak. And I think this kid is the real deal, Holyfield. I have nothing but good things to say about this guy, and everybody's excited. And I think he's going to get this team over the hump. He is a force to be reckoned with, and I think that he is going to be an answer to a lot of Flyers fans' prayers. He is fantastic. And then when you factor in, a guy like John Tortorella who can coach him up and get the most out of him and squeeze every single ounce of talent out of him, sky's the limit. That dude's the real deal. And if you want to hear more about the Flyers and get the best coverage, go to Flyers Alley on Old City Sports. Those guys are the best in the business. Those guys know what they're talking about, and I think they're the best. So if I were you, I would highly recommend listening to them. And before I touch on the unfortunate passing of Dikembe Mutombo, I want to let you know about Decals by Aaron. If you are a Delco fanatic and if you live and breathe Delco and Delco is everything to you, I think that it's imperative that you go to Decals by Aaron. You can go to their Facebook page. You can go to their website, decalsbyaaron.com. Let them know Frank sent you, and they will hook you up with all your Delco needs. So either go to their Facebook page, facebook.com/decalsbyaaron, or go to www.decalsbyaaron.com for all your great Delco deals or gear, excuse me. Unfortunately, Dikembe Mutombo passed away at the age of 58. He died of brain cancer, and he was undergoing a treatment for brain tumor, and he died of brain cancer, to be specific. Just sad. He was only 58 years old. Anyone who dies of cancer, it's really sad. Cancer affect, there's all types of cancer, and it affects all of us. And to see somebody die 58 years young is really unfortunate. If you look at his accolades, he's obviously a former Sixer. He was a part of our memorable NBA Finals run in 2001 alongside of Allen Iverson. So that was very memorable, and that's something that a lot of Philadelphia sports fans will always remember and cherish. He was an 8-time All-Star, a second in all NBA second team in 2001, the year we went to the NBA championship, NBA Finals, 2-time All-NBA third team, a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, just a force defensively, and a Hall of Famer in the basketball world. And he will truly be missed. And I will always remember the "Not in My House" commercial, as many of you will remember and cherish. So rest in peace, Dikembe Mutombo, for the great moments. I will never forget your contributions, not only to the Sixers, but to the game of basketball. So that is that. A lot of good, a lot of bad, a lot of good things looking forward to, a lot of things I'm not so sure about with the Philadelphia Eagles. But hopefully that bye week, which is much needed, they can regroup. Like I said, they are 2-2, despite the up and down play, the inconsistencies from the defense. Jalen Hurts, has some issues he needs to work on. Coaching staff needs to get their act together, and certain players on this team, and that I won't name going forward, need to understand what it means to be a Philadelphia Eagle and needs to understand that shit will not fly here. You want to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And if you walk the walk, obviously you will, be celebrated in the city. But if you're going to talk that talk and you don't back it up, there's going to be serious hell to pay, because this is a city where that is not going to happen, and that's not going to fly. And we will call for your departure so fast your head will spin. So certain guys need to shut the F up and get back to work. So, but the season's not over. They're 2-2. The NFL has been crazy so far this year. It's a long season. We have a lot of home games, a lot of games in our environment, which a lot of people haven't really, you don't really think about. They've only played one home game essentially at the Link, and there'll be plenty of home games. And, hopefully that we can come back from the bye, get healthy, make some adjustments, and finish out the season strong. But there's a lot of work that has to be done. So that will be it for me. I might do a podcast later this week. I don't know, depending upon my schedule. But I had to obviously touch on that debacle that was the Philadelphia Eagles against the Buccaneers. But all hope is not lost. It's a long season. You obviously have Red October on the horizon. Michkov mania is here to stay, and Joel Embiid's down to 25 to 30 pounds. So and he talked about how he's looking to make things right in the postseason, which is it's just good, and it's something that he needs to do because he's paying him a lot of money, and you bring in Paul George to go along with Tyrese Maxey. They have all the tools to get it done. So there's some negative, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So that will be that. Make sure to check out Old City Sports on YouTube, Spotify. Go to the Facebook, wherever. Go to the website oldcitysports.com. Check us out. It would be greatly appreciated. And I will catch you guys later. So have a good night and go Phillies.